You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers today, so let's just get started with Aaron from Eau Claire.
What's up? It's Aaron from Eau Claire. Just saw that Robert Saleh was fired with really no prior warning.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
all I have to say is Aaron Rodgers must be really, really grateful that he works for an organization finally, after years with the Packers, that treats their employees with respect and doesn't just pull the rug out from under them and fire them on a moment's notice with a cold, hard exterior.
Right.
It must be such a relief to play football for an organization that treats all of their employees with total kindness and respect. Unlike Green Bay, who's obviously doing everything the wrong way. I'm glad Aaron Rodgers can finally get that sweet taste of an organization that
competence
just
really
has everything perfectly in order. And we're stuck here with Green Bay.
Jeez.
Tough.
Well, you got to make do with what you got, and the grass isn't always greener, but in Rodgers' case, it is. It's a different shade of green. I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, I do know. I mean, Rodgers explicitly talked about how he didn't like how people were treated or whatever. And, I guess it is a question. Are you happy now? The funny thing is, he probably is happier because, again, Rodgers never actually cared about how people were treated. He didn't. You think he didn't want guys cut all the time? There were incompetent players all over the Green Bay Packers, and I promise you he shed no tears about them leaving. How many dozens and dozens and probably hundreds of players got cut over the tenure of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay? Do you think he was upset about all of them, or was he just upset about his friends? Tell me one time Rodgers was upset about the way that Green Bay treated people, and it wasn't one of his friends. Jordy? Himself? Every single time he had a complaint, it was that his friends, he felt they should have been paid. The Packers didn't pay him. And then he makes up this thing about how they just didn't handle it right. Which, again, as I've said 100 times, there is no way to handle it right other than to just overpay his friends. Because if you offer them what you think that they're worth, that's insulting and rude, like in the case of Jordy Nelson. They offered, and Devontae, they offered him money. It was too low, and that was just terrible and horrible and wrong. But again, the Packers have a right to say, at this moment, this is all we're really willing to do. Right? Devontae, that number went up, but at the time, it didn't. At the time, they're like, at this point in time, this is the number. It just is what it is. You say, well, if that's insulting, it'd be better off to just not offer him anything. Oh, you mean so they should have just cut him? What happens when that happens? What's the narrative? You offered him nothing? You didn't even make an offer? We heard all the time about how, if they would have just made an offer, I didn't even get a phone call. So there is no right way to do it. You can't offer them what you think that they're worth. And you can't just not offer them anything. So the only remaining option is you have to pay them more than you think that they're worth because, according to Rodgers, they've just earned it. Look at what David Bakhtiari has done over all these years. It doesn't matter what his play is now. It doesn't matter how his knee is now. It has nothing to do with it. You look at his history. That's exactly what all the Rodgers fans said about Rodgers. Every time they talked about Rodgers, the only thing they ever wanted to talk about was his past. You ever notice that? They wanted to talk about his MVPs. They wanted to talk about him winning a Super Bowl. They wanted to talk about the things he did in the past. That's not what we're talking about today. And so, again, is he super upset about what happened with the Jets? Well, the Jets pay his friends. They let go of Saleh, but does he care? Honestly, does he care? It certainly seems to fit into the narrative of how you treat people. There's just a certain way of going about it. But again, I think that was kind of fake. He doesn't give a crap that guys get cut cold all the time in the NFL. He knows that. I think the question comes down to how much did he want Saleh there? How much of a close friend was Saleh? Now, if it was his buddy, the offensive coordinator, that got cut like that, I'm sure he'd be pissed. I'm just saying. If you don't think that's true, where am I wrong? At what point am I wrong? Name me one player that he thought was a bad football player that he was frustrated with as a wide receiver that ended up getting cut, and he was like, you know what? I didn't appreciate the way he played, but that was the wrong thing to do. He never used anybody other than his friends as examples of times when guys got kicked out the door the wrong way. So I find it to be hypocritical. Flat out.
Yo, Ryan, it's your uncle, Rico.
What's up?
I just want to let you know that's what she said.
Thank you, Uncle Rico.
Oh, Ryan, it's your uncle, Rico.
What up?
The Jordan Love interception. Yes, I was less disappointed in that. Okay, first of all, when he threw that rocket ball to Reed in the beginning for the first, did we get a touchdown or to set up the touchdown? And when he launched it, I was like, no, you idiot. And then Reed caught it. I was like, wow, that is nuts. I wouldn't have thrown that ball, but hey, Reed's amazing.
No.
And the ball, honestly, could it have been any more well-placed, I guess? I don't know if that was an accident or whatever, but we'll take it. But the interception out of the end zone, yeah, that was kind of I guess, probably a bad decision. But at the same time, if Kraft wouldn't have gave up on the play.
Again, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. He was not trying to throw to Kraft. And as far as, if he would have continued running hard at what? The sideline? You telling me that was his route to run out of the end of the sideline? No, it was not. He didn't give up. He was past the hash mark already. He had already run his route, and now he's watching his quarterback go down for a safety, and then watches him try to throw it out of bounds, and it doesn't get out of bounds. I mean, what do you mean finish his route? What was his route? To run all the way, put your toe on the white line of the sideline? I don't think so. I mean, it's such a, yes, if he had happened to just randomly keep running in that direction, maybe he could have caught it instead of the other guy. I'm putting 0% of the blame on him. That is such a stupid cop-out by a former quarterback who always wants to say the quarterbacks are right, no matter what, and I'm tired of hearing of his stupid excuses 24/7. That is not on Kraft, that's on Jordan. He was not trying to throw it to Kraft, he was trying to throw it out of bounds. It was bad decisions all around. Great play, terrible blocking. Jordan tried to get it, and I understand that, and that's probably the right thing to do, but at the end of the day, you didn't execute, so that's still on you, right? If you make the right read and try to throw it to a guy 40 yards down the field, and it only goes 35 yards and gets picked, I'm not going to give you credit. Like, well, it was the right decision. Yeah, but you didn't execute it correctly, and it ended in disaster because you couldn't quite get it where it was supposed to be. That just made me so angry when I saw Banker talk about how great of a job he did. Like, he just knew Kraft was going to be right there, but Kraft gave up. Like, no, nope, not doing it. Not playing that stupid game. At some point, you just got to go, dang it, Jordan. And honestly, it's not mostly on Jordan. It's on whoever was supposed to be blocking. I think it was the running back who got caught inside or whatever. That's where this really is the biggest problem. That's what caused this disaster. That's what changed this from a pick six, from a really big play into a pick six. It was set up beautifully. Jordan Love, if he had been able to plant his feet and throw to a wide open guy, it's not a certainty, but you feel pretty good about that. So that is where the majority of the blame lies. But still, Jordan trying to navigate this situation created a disaster. Tucker gets 0% of the blame from me. I'm not playing that game.
And not that I blame him. Obviously, Love was like horizontal and 6 inches off the ground.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, it was like, oh, he's trying to throw to Kraft. His face was staring at the ground when he started throwing. He was not looking. It's not, I mean, if his eyes were on Kraft running, maybe you could sell me on that. He was trying not to die. This was panic mode, right? And I give him credit for at least having the wherewithal to say, hey, I think I can, trying to process how can I manage this rather than just going, oh, crap, and going down. He's still able to think, get the ball out of bounds. But again, that's Jordan in a nutshell. He's always like, there's never not a solution here. Like, I'm getting sacked. It's like, nope, I'm going to launch it, which is a really dangerous thing sometimes, and he needs to kind of stop doing that once in a while. But I appreciate the fact that he never quits. So I'll give him as much credit as I possibly can. I'm not giving him credit for trying to throw to Tucker Kraft. I'm just not. He wasn't looking in that direction. He was staring at the ground when he started throwing it. He tried to get it out of bounds, and it didn't make it there.
But Kraft was standing there flat-footed, and the defender had not given up on the play because he was watching close.
Well, I mean, he more or less gave up until the ball went in the air, and then he just ran after it. I mean, they were both flat-footed. He was just guarding Tucker. It's not like he just kept running the route like, hey, Tucker, you just going to give up? Cool, I'm going to keep running this way because that's where Jordan's about to throw it. No, they both were just standing there like, oh, dang, he's about to get sacked. And then when the ball went up, the corner just went and grabbed it. And yeah, he's faster than Tucker at like reading and reacting and whatnot because he's a freaking corner compared to a tight end.
I guess, or knew the possibilities, whatever. Anyways, I mean, if it happens again, at least Kraft breaks up the pass if he doesn't catch it, or at the very minimal, he makes the tackle. But anyways, I'm not putting the blame on Kraft, but I just wanted to say that Kraft did give up on the play, standing there flat-footed while Love was launching the ball. He shouldn't have launched, but so it's not an indictment of Kraft. I love him. I think he's doing a great job, and I can't.
Big fans.
I understand why he gave up in the play because it was. I mean, I've never seen someone throw a pass with their nose touching the turf before. Right. That was nuts. But all right, go Pack, go. We're gonna figure stuff out, Ryan. We're gonna. We have to. Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, later. I would love to know what the route is. Because again, if you look at where and maybe I'm wrong, maybe when you do run that route, you put your toe or you put the end of your foot right on the old white end hash line there, out of bounds line. What the heck is that line called? Sidelines, right? Sidelines? Is that the official name? That's all I can come up with, sideline. Maybe you run the route all the way to the sideline, you plant your foot just inside of the sidelines there. Or like most routes, you run to like, not that far and stop. Plus, screw the route like Jordan's going down. I don't know. Everything went wrong on that play. Tucker Kraft was not one of the things, if I'm going back and looking at it. I mean, maybe in hindsight, it's like no matter what, just run back to Jordan. Maybe that's something we say because he might just do something stupid. Fine, fair enough. I mean, it's not even about the route. It's not about finish your route. It's about start sprinting toward Jordan in case he tries to launch it somewhere. You want to. It's like 500 when you're a kid. That ball's going to get launched. Make sure you're in a position to get it instead of the other guy. Also, Jordan, freaking knock it off.
Hey, Ryan, it's Peter Thomas from Milwaukee giving you a call.
What's up, man?
So I'm wondering about our defensive line. I'm wondering if a point of emphasis before the season was for our pass rushers to stop rushing quarterbacks. So pretend I'm Jeff Hafley. I take a look at the 2023 Packers season's tape, and one of the biggest glaring needs for the Packers defensive line was to stop the run and explosive plays up the middle. And number two, to force running capable quarterbacks to pass. I wonder if this was an emphasis, especially for the Eagles and Colts games, and if what we're seeing now is simply the aftermath of that emphasis to stop the run. What I'm seeing from our pass rushers is an attempt to collapse the pocket by pushing the tackle straight back into the quarterback. The old bull rush, so to speak. If everyone is doing their part in collapsing the pocket, a.k.a. the Titans game, this works really well. What I saw last year was our edge rushers using individual moves to get around the tackle to sack the quarterback. And maybe, perhaps this was also effective, but at times when it didn't work, it created an easy running lane for opposing quarterbacks to roll out and either run for massive gains or throw a pass to a scrambling defense.
Mm-hmm.
All I can think of is the Giants game last year with Danny Dimes. So, I don't know. I'm wondering if we can look at last year's rushing stats from quarterbacks and even running backs and compare them with this year thus far. Maybe it's just me. I just haven't seen this typical Swiss cheese defensive line this season, and I'm like used to seeing that in so many seasons past. No, it wasn't Danny Dimes. It was, what's his name?
Bryce
Cutlets from New York.
Oh, yeah, Danny. Oh, that was the worst.
Hope you're well, man.
Oh, why did you remind me of that? Oh, that hurt a little bit when you mentioned that. I had forgotten about that. Danny Cutlets making just everybody, like first-year quarterbacks all the time, everybody that nobody believes in, just looking super great. I mean, without doing like a massive deep dive, I guess I have a couple thoughts. First of all, you might be right about last year. I do remember, at least with Pettin, it was always the case of collapse the pocket. I thought it was the same under Barry, but I could be wrong about that. I just feel like that's always been the way that they've kind of done things. Certainly under Pettin, and again, I know that they were successful. Now, I guess there's another way to look at this, and I don't think that this is true, but let's just assume it is for the sake of things. Maybe this is more of and again, this goes contrary to everything we were told about how this defense works, including what Rashawn Gary and some of the other guys say, which is it's about getting penetration. It's about getting upfield. The guys up front don't have to worry as much about all these other things. Obviously, the edge guys have to set the edge to some degree, but it's about penetration, get upfield, get after the quarterback, hit the running back in the back, all that stuff. That clearly is not what's happening. Now, we could say, because the pressure actually hasn't been terrible overall, that, we have a defensive line that is focused on, as you said, stop the run, prevent big plays, seal the edge, all that stuff, and then we can generate pressure when we bring other guys or when we try to dial it up specifically. The thing that would really suck, I mean, again, as a fan, cool, whatever. I don't, I guess I don't super care. Because again, we're doing two things. We're using the defensive line to stop the big plays, and whenever we want a pressure, we can go get a pressure. So pressure isn't really a problem. The part that would suck is that this would be revolutionary. And I don't mean for us. I mean for pass rushers getting $30 million a year and defensive tackles getting $30 million a year, because every one of those guys up front that got paid got overpaid. Because if all we need a defensive line to do is hold, right, especially in the case of run defense, and, be able to collapse the pocket here and there, but again, our guys are terrible at that right now. If that's all we're really trying to do is get some guys to kind of contain up front, and then when we want to generate blitzes, we do so with safeties and corners and linebackers, then we really can free up a lot of money up front. Because there are guys that can do that don't need that much money. So I would doubt it, really doubt it, but at the same time, it's kind of like the picks where it's like I don't know, man. I don't believe it holds up. That is to say, we have no pass rush with our pass rushers, but we're fine because Hafley can cook up some blitzes and the pass rush rate stays okay. Again, I saw the metric that when we bring 5 or more, we're leading the league in pressure rate. I mean, that's a good thing, but it involves blitzing. I feel like Hafley should be a 3-4 guy and just stay in base all the time. He'd be the best pass rush guy in the world. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Kenny had a little bit of a better day, and I mean, I can't imagine Hafley has this as a plan going forward. The players obviously had no idea. They intended to have a banner year, and I thought that they would too. It ain't working, and I don't really know the answer to why. Again, the only real film analysis I saw was from Mike Wall. Not that I've really been looking, but I noticed was Mike Wall just watching Rashawn Gary play and saying, this is not going to work. Like, the way that you're doing this is terrible. And it's funny because I've always watched Rashawn and felt that way. The way that he stands far away and he kind of sets things up, and it just takes him forever to just get to the guy. I mean, you don't see top pass rushers doing that. They just go. They go forward. Rashawn does this thing where he stands up and then it feels like it takes 3 seconds for him to get to the tackle. I don't know, man. I just somehow it was working in the past. It's not working right now. I don't fully understand. Maybe he's just really struggling with this hand in the dirt thing, which, again, I know he was doing before, but maybe they're just going to have him stand more. I know he did that quite a bit this past week. I saw him doing it. Maybe he's just gotten better at that. I don't know. But something we'll just keep an eye on. Take a break. We'll come back. We got some Steve in Alaska.
Hey, Ryan.
What's up?
Super late. I've been drinking a bunch. I'm at the end of my time here, and I'm getting ready to go to bed. I actually found this really cool leg massage thing that I got going right now. But listening, and I have one person in, and I remember what I listened to the post game, and actually the person did the post game. But what is with everybody, man? We're 3-2. We lost our quarterback for 2 weeks. We are crying because we haven't put like 4 quarters of excellence together. It's week 5 in the season here, people. Week 5 in the season.
Again, let me just remind everybody, there's only 17 weeks, which means we are a third of the way done. That's why it kind of matters.
We're ahead of the scale. We're in the positive. We have 4 to look to what we can get to. We already got damaged and won games while we were damaged. I don't understand this. I don't get why we can't be better. We should be so much better. Let's be honest here. We are a good team with all kinds of positive working in our outlook. If you look at a team like Kansas City, I'm going to say Kansas City because why? They haven't looked great, and they're 5-0. It's a long season, people. Get yourselves together. We're a solid team that's shown that we have solid capability in many different areas. I don't know why it seems so negative. Do you want to we come out here and we're this so dominant team. Everybody only scores like 10 points against us, and we score 34 points a game. And we're just stomping people game after game after game. That is foolishness. That doesn't happen. And the teams that have come out and have done that, very few of them went on to get to the goal. In my memory, the teams that come out smashing teams early don't win the Super Bowl. We are learning how to be a football team that's dealing with difficulties and hardships. And we're winning. And even the games that we lost, we didn't lose them by.
Oh, you got cut off there. We'll get to part 2, but let me just answer your questions because I can answer them pretty straightforwardly. No, I don't want them to necessarily come out and be dominant. I want them to come out and be competent. You cannot be a team that comes out and is horrible in the first half. The drops are a serious problem. And let me just answer the question in whole. The reason why people are concerned is the same reason why I laugh at Bears fans who are excited about their quarterback looking competent against the Panthers. You have to take things into context. This team, as it stands today, is not going to win playoff games. They're not. You cannot play one half of a game and beat playoff teams. You're never going to win a Super Bowl that way. And, the idea that, it's early. First of all, it's not early. We're approaching week 6. So we're a third of the way through the season. That's not early. And there are teams right now that you can almost count completely out of the playoffs because of their record. So it matters. Now, fortunately, we haven't faced those consequences, which is great. That's why I said, early on, just find a way to win. And I shouldn't even say early on. It's not about early on. Some teams are ready to go. The Vikings have been in playoff mode since week 1. It's just I don't like the excuses. I hate excuses. Well, it's early. So what? What does early have to do with anything? You have an obligation to catch a football, and you can't do it. You have an obligation to be a pass rusher because we give you $30 million a year to be a pass rusher, and I'm not going to say, well, it's only been 5 weeks, it's fine. It's not fine. You have to do your job. You can't just not show up in the first half. You can't just throw up passes that are stupid, throwing 3 interceptions in a game, acting like an idiot. You cannot do this, and you don't get leeway. And I also just don't assume that everything automatically gets better. All I'm doing is I'm analyzing things as they are. And I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to just talk about the bad, I'm going to ignore the good, because I'm just going to pretend that I know that everything's going to get better. What if it gets worse? What if Wicks doesn't get better in his receiving? What if things with Dobbs continue to deteriorate? What if Watson doesn't ever become the guy that I hope he does? Same with our other tight end. By the way, injuries do compound, and they do get worse as the season goes on. What if we don't get the things figured? In fact, one of the major issues that I've been worried about is regression with the defense, because if you take away the interceptions, our defense is terrible. And again, 0 playoff wins if that's the case. So look, and obviously there are some critiques that are over the top negative. So you didn't necessarily specify like what that line is, but there are some things that are good, and we should praise those things and be excited about those things. There are some things that are bad, and we should point them out, especially if we acknowledge again, like, yeah, that'll work against the Titans and the Colts. It won't work against, the Vikings. And then we have a win against the Rams, which, I guess we could do a backflip about, but they're one of the worst teams in football, and it wasn't super easy. It was very difficult. The Bears made it look easier than we did. That's a problem. And all these things, to me, say this team is not good enough to even beat mediocre teams. So yes, do I expect them to play 4 quarters? I do. Do I expect them to be elite? And I don't expect elite at all. Elite would be great. You have to show up for 4 quarters. You have to play. You can't just disappear for an entire half and then come back and play the second half, and then, maybe you win, maybe you lose, whatever, and I go, well, at least you tried. That ain't my thing. They come off the sideline, it's like, well, as long as you have fun, like they're 4-year-olds. Now, that isn't to say that I don't think that they can improve. Of course I do. That's why I've said it, and that's why it wouldn't be worth even talking about if they couldn't, other than to rant and rave and just be pissed, which, again, some people do. But I don't see anything other than to say this has to get better, because it does. I'm not going to praise mediocre play. I'm not going to be okay with not playing well for 5 weeks. I'm not going to be okay with for only playing 2 quarters while the other team plays 4. I'm not okay with the drops. I'm not okay with the quarterback decisions. I'm not okay with the blocking mistakes, the penalty mistakes, the drop mistakes. I'm just not okay with it. I don't think anybody should be okay with it. Now, do you need to overreact like the sky's falling and we're definitely going to lose? No. But it has to be better, and it shouldn't take this long. If there's ever this problem, which there shouldn't be. There's no I expect Wicks to drop passes for at least a week or 2. No, I don't. I don't expect that. I expect you to not do that. Like everybody else. Tucker Kraft didn't have that problem. Romeo and Christian and everybody else. There might have been a couple people that had some issues. But I don't just expect it. Maybe some people do. Maybe some people expect just bad play for a long time. And when that happens, it's like, what did you expect? Oh, I don't know, to be like every other team. I don't know. I just, and if it was if there was one bad game, that's understandable. Like even Rodgers and the crew, when they were really humming and they were playing great, they'd have a bad game. And it's like, that sucked. Like, you can't be doing that, whatever. But it's one game. The week before, you were great. The week after, we got to stop doing this thing where it's the first 9 weeks of the season. And then it comes down to the wire on whether we're even going to get into the playoffs or not. Not because we're not a playoff team. We're one of the best teams in football. But we might not get in anyways because of how much we sucked in the beginning of the year, losing games we shouldn't have lost because it took us 9 weeks to start playing like a normal football team. That's what I'm not okay with. That's what needs to stop.
Part 2, and even the games that we lost, we didn't lose them by huge deficits. Matter of fact, we rallied in those games.
Right, in the second half. But what happens if we didn't play poorly? We would have smoked the Vikings. We shouldn't have had to come back. We shouldn't have lost. They didn't play an entire half of football, and we lost a game against a divisional rival as a result of that. So yeah, my stance isn't, hey, we tried and it was close, and they rallied, and that's nice. We lost the game, a critical game, a very, very important game against the number one team in our division right now because we didn't show up for an entire half. That's my perspective on it, which is quite a bit different than where you're coming from.
To make those games super competitive at the end when we thought we could do something, then our quarterback did some dumb thing. Whatever. No, Steve, not whatever.
It's not whatever. Oh, our quarterback did some dumb thing and turned the ball over, whatever. No. We got kicked out of the playoffs as a result of that. It's not whatever. It's a serious problem. Turnovers are massive. Pick sixes are beyond massive. These are things that are going to make the difference between winning and losing. I mean, we're nitpicking field goal kickers. Like, oh, if he would have just made one, we would have won. How massive is a turnover? It's bigger than that. A pick six is way bigger than that. I just... Little mistakes happen here and there. Massive mistakes happening consistently and costing us games is not whatever.
He's taking a chance. He's trying to do something.
Yeah, that sounds like excuses.
I think we all need to sit down.
I'm sitting.
And get our heads out of our butts. And we have to be this awesome superpower team.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I go back and say the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't look great. The Chiefs haven't looked amazing. The Chiefs haven't looked like they had flaws. And the Chiefs are 5-0. Minnesota starting to fall off. Starting to have some problems. 5-0. Do we think we can take either of those teams? I think we can.
We can if we play 4 quarters, and if we clean up the penalties and the drops and the bad decisions. If we don't clean that up, we won't win. That's the difference.
I think we can take either of those teams. So, we need to, relax, people. We need to relax and look at this season as there's a whole lot of games left. And we are looking solid.
No.
And
there are a whole lot of games left. And if we can start playing solid, we're going to win most of those games. We're going to get into the playoffs, and we're going to have a real shot. If we continue playing the way that we're playing, we will not win most of those games. We will not get into the playoffs. That's my position, I guess.
We can do some damage when the time comes. All we got to do is get to the tournament. We don't have to win the division. We ain't got to be 14-3. We don't have to be.
We don't have to be, but there's no reason not to be. We are a better team than the Vikings. We should have beat the Vikings, and we didn't. And if we continue playing like this, we might split with the Bears and lose twice to the Lions and the Vikings. At this level of play, that's a good chance that that's exactly what happens. And then we don't get into the playoffs. But even still, if we do that thing where we barely squeak in again, why? Why should we do that? Why should we just say, well, it's good enough, it's fine, it's not a big deal. We got a little bit more work to do. We got another game to win, which could kick us out of the playoffs rather than getting a bye week. But, I'm not interested in giving him nearly as much leeway as you are, where it just doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. These are all huge deals.
17-0. Hey, man.
No, not what I'm saying.
We're 11-6, 10-7, and we make the playoffs, and we're total terror for anybody that's got a playoffs. So, I think we all need to calm down. I think we all need to relax. I think again, if anybody heard me, I was excited about that Rams win. That Rams win was a game where we came out and we struggled, we fought, and we had issues, and in the end, we won, not because we just scored points and buried the other team, but because we made the scores we need to make, and the defense did the things it needed to do. Ryan, I know you're going to say that turnovers are fluctuating from year to year, and it's not. But if this is the year that we're getting a lot of turnovers, this is the year we can get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, if they can maintain it, and again, like let me use your point to kind of counter your point. If the defense, this is the one year the defense is going to be dominant, you're right. You're right. This could potentially help us win a Super Bowl. But what if the offense doesn't get there? What if Jordan doesn't stop making mistakes and the drops don't stop and the penalties don't stop? We're going to squander our opportunity with this defense. So yeah, I hope the defense can continue. I hope the defense can get better. But our offense has to keep pace, or we're not going to get or do anything in the playoffs.
So let's take advantage of the year.
I
We're getting a lot of
Exactly.
turnovers.
Take advantage.
We might not have it next year.
Exactly.
All right?
Yes.
Go Pack, go.
I'm with you. Sorry about that noise. I have a really hard time doing one thing at a time. It's probably a consequence of, I don't know, being overstimulated with social media and everything else. It's gotten to the point, like at night when my wife and I are watching our stupid TV shows, 1,000-Pound Sisters or whatever. I gotta get the laptop out so I can have something else. It's an issue. Bottom line is I'm uninstalling programs on my computer because I got too much crap on here. Steve in Alaska's got a third call. Go ahead, Steve.
I'm looking at it right now. It's the October 7th, Packernet After Dark. And you stated that Brett Favre threw more interceptions than most. Well, let's be honest, buddy. He threw more interceptions than every quarterback. I love Brett. Brett was the best. You always felt that the game was there for Brett. Even when he was throwing 3, 4, 5 interceptions, you still sit there waiting for Brett. But Brett threw more picks than any quarterback. There's nobody that has more. If I'm wrong, call me on it, buddy. I dare you.
Well, I'm not going to bother looking it up because you're probably right. I mean, he has a lot of stats that are because of cumulative things, so I'm sure there are some that were a lot worse on a per-snap basis, but they also probably didn't play as much. So if you look at guys that played multiple years, yeah, I doubt there's a lot of... if you pulled Hall of Famers, he might end up being the worst. But, yeah, I mean, look, we're kind of talking about slightly different things here. First of all, some of this stuff does need to get cleaned up. Again, I'm not going to just say I'm okay with it. Now, sometimes he's going to take risks, and some of those risks are going to turn into picks, and we just got to get used to that, and I think that that's fine. But there are some things that I think are just inexcusable. That pick that turned into a pick six, that's not like a Brett Favre thing. That's like a Danny Dimes thing. Some of these things where that throw into triple coverage is a Brett Favre throw, right? That's I think I can do it throw. The throw into the end zone where there's defenders and nobody else there, which maybe that was the receiver's fault. I don't know. That some of these throws you look at and go, I'm not going to sit here and call that a Brett Favre throw. Would he try to burn it in down the sideline before the safety got there? Yes, but some of these are just boneheaded nonsense throws. Like, again, that game against the 49ers, which I don't think we'd have won anyways, even without that pick. Things were really going poorly. But, I mean, that's sprinting to your right, throwing just an air ball up into the middle of the field that lands in a defender's arms. It's got nothing to do with Brett Favre. And beyond that, that's just one issue, right? That team won Super Bowls because they were a really, 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 really good football team, offense and defense. And I don't know, but I have a feeling if I went back and looked, they weren't like one of the top teams in penalties and drops and everything else. It takes a lot to win a Super Bowl. I just noticed it was that big audio issue, so that's annoying. Sorry about that. Tell you what, let's just take a break right here. We'll come back, and we got Jared the Uber driver, aka Dur Trader.
Howdy, this is Jared the Uber driver from Texas. So I was just listening to Packernet After Dark. You made an analogy with using tweezers compared to an axe to shave. Could you imagine if you went over to like a new buddy's house and then you say, "Hey man, you got an extra razor I could use? I need to fix up my beard or something, or whatever." the wife at home needs to shave. And he's like, yeah, just go to the bathroom. And then you just see like breaks in case of shaving, and it's just a big act. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, all right, let's go, let's try it. I don't know. I just thought that was a funny thought. Have a good day. Go Pack, go.
It's a good analogy when it's a funny visual, I think. Going to the bathroom and there is a pair of tweezers and a battle axe. Aaron, what's up?
Hey, Ryan. This is Aaron. I was going to call about this yesterday, and then I just forgot. So Robert Saleh was fired by the New Jersey Aaron Rodgers. And as a Packers fan who dealt with Aaron Rodgers for years, I have one thing to say about that. Interesting. That is very interesting that something like that would happen. Oh, man. I am baffled by that. Wow.
Again, who could have predicted? There was a large group of people, we'll say a percentage of Packer fans and almost everybody outside of Packer fans, that said the Packers would fall apart and be garbage, and the Jets would be instant Super Bowl caliber team. Right? And the drama wasn't Rodgers' fault. It wasn't. It was Gutekunst's fault. And look, it's never as though I was 100% sure of anything. It's possible that there's just these coincidences that follow Aaron Rodgers around, and there seems to be this drama all the time. You know, and again, it's like he'd go on Pat McAfee and he'd give an explanation, and it always sounded reasonable. It always sounded like, okay, yeah, we looked at this wrong, or we overreacted to this or that or whatever, but there was always some kind of drama wherever Rodgers went. And he goes to the Jets, and it's the same thing. And again, we can play the same game where it's like, well, it's not his fault. He didn't make the disaster with Hassan Reddick. He didn't cause all the drama that was going on in the locker room with, you know, the coach collecting phones and all the different things with the tensions between the players and the coaches and Rodgers and the coach and the drama about the offensive coordinator not doing his job and all that stuff. Like, it's just a giant coincidence. Granted, Hackett wouldn't be there without Rodgers, but it's just a giant coincidence, but it just doesn't stop. There's one common thread with every single ounce of drama that's happened throughout the NFL surrounding Aaron Rodgers for the last 3 years, since there was the issue with him blowing up against the Green Bay Packers, and it's Rodgers. There's a video I probably will play tomorrow, but I think it was borderline like over the line. I mean, there may be an overreaction to Rodgers in terms of like, does he belong with the greats? It's like, let's calm down a little bit. But there is always has been a question, at least in my mind, of, okay, arm talent, way better. One of the best we've ever seen ever. But what if arm talent isn't everything? What if being really intelligent and having a really incredible ability to throw a football isn't everything? What if there are other intangibles that maybe some other guys had that he didn't? Maybe there's a reason there were a lot of locker room issues. And again, we've heard specifically some of the things that, Rodgers' interactions with guys and even the way that he says he deals with things. You know, I lead by example, meaning I don't lead anybody. I don't teach anybody. I don't work with anybody. He laughed at the idea that he would ever spend time with young players on his team. I mean, stuff like that. There are decisions that are made outside of your own ability to play football that, when we're talking about a team sport, it makes a big difference. And to have the Jets so quickly start to look like the Packers is really remarkable. And I don't mean in every kind of way, but you look at the offense and they're having the same issues where it's like, well, Rodgers made a bad throw. And it's like, no, he didn't. It was the receiver didn't run the right route. He's expecting him to be there. And it's like, you can look at that and say it's not Rodgers' fault. Rodgers did the right thing. The receiver did the wrong thing. Or maybe we need to take a bigger step back and say Rodgers' insistence on doing things his way is not helping. Rodgers' insistence on playing a certain kind of football and expecting everybody to be as intelligent as he is about football and to have the memory that he has when it comes to football and to expect everybody around you to meet that standard. And if you don't, he really does not treat you super well. because he has very low patience for what he would consider stupidity. And again, you can easily look at that and go, it makes sense. I mean, you're the best. You expect the greatest from everybody, and I get that. But in practice, it doesn't work. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes, as people in theory, we listen to things and we go, that makes sense. We sit down, we hear an idea, and we say it makes sense. At some point, you've got that definition of insanity thing. Definition of insanity, not literally, but whoever, if it was Einstein or not, I don't know. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that's been the Aaron Rodgers offense for a decade now. I mean, since it was failing in 2018, since it really started to show cracks in 2015, was when things started to be like, ooh, what is going on? And 2016 was good. And then 2017, yeah, he got hurt. And then 2018, it didn't work. 2019, like, we're trying to blend this Matt LaFleur thing in, so it's kind of working, but it's really weird and clunky, and nobody really understood. But Devontae made it work. Because whether you're running Aaron Rodgers' system, which Devontae knows, or whether we're trying to do this Matt LaFleur thing, it doesn't matter. It's freaking Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. It's going to work no matter what. But then when Devontae leaves, and a bunch of other guys don't really know how to do Aaron Rodgers' thing, it doesn't work. Translation, they need to get Devontae to the Jets. They might have a chance. Still got a good defense, presumably, even though they fired the architect of the defense for some unfreaking known reason. They changed the offensive coordinator, which is useless. You might as well keep Hackett in there because I don't think it really matters. Aaron Rodgers is primarily doing everything. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Please continue.
I mean, obviously, the Jets aren't playing well, and Robert Saleh is the problem because why would Aaron Rodgers ever be a problem?
Saleh's the problem with the offense.
And then this Woody dude.
Idiot.
Some people should just not have money. But this Woody dude who owns the Jets
so dumb.
said, hey, Aaron Rodgers, I'm Woody. You've got a friend in me, and I'm a genie, and you can have any wish that you want. What do you want? And then Aaron Rodgers was like, yo, fire that guy that keeps trying to tell me how to do my job because I'm not playing well. And then Woody's like, oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Sorry if this is very incoherent. I got
we got
an hour of sleep last night.
We're with you. We're tracking
right now. But yeah, so that's what I like to do is just not sleep and then call Packernet. So anyways, so yeah, like I just saw that coming from a mile away. Robert Saleh is an unfortunate fall guy, as we Packers fans completely understand. Like, how does Nathaniel Hackett still have a job? Like that, it's literally the New Jersey Aaron Rodgers right now. I'm not even kidding. Like, they should just change the name right now, or give Aaron Rodgers the nickname Jet. I mean, he's not sure. I think Benny the Jet from Sandlot would probably be better for that team right now, to be honest. But yeah, sorry, I'm trying to keep this coherent, which it probably is off the rails a long time ago. So I'm just gonna hang up now. Bye.
Don't apologize, Aaron. Just lean into it, man. No, I mean we all completely understand the situation, and again, I don't think that Saleh was doing a good job necessarily. I think he was doing a bad job. I think he's one of those guys that is a good defensive coordinator, not necessarily a good leader of men. Felt like he would be. Kind of just seemed to be a guy that would fit the prototype or whatever that guys would follow. Just seemed like, but it just didn't work. Again, it's in theory it seemed to work. You watch it in practice, it didn't work. And I think the true test of a coach is watch what happens when things go bad. Watch the locker room, watch the players, watch the play on the field, all that stuff. That's the hard part for coaches, is to be able to overcome that and keep guys together and rally. I mean, you look at the head coach in Detroit, what an unbelievable job to come in there. The team is terrible, but he gets them to believe. For like 3 years, they're not playing, but they still believe, and they keep playing better, and now they're a decent team. I mean, they're a playoff team. That's good coaching. It just is. I'd hate to admit it, but it's the reality. And the Jets are a bad football team, and it's hard to keep it together, and he just couldn't. And you start to hear the reports of stuff he's doing. It's like, bro, what are you freaking doing? But that doesn't matter. You don't make the decision to fire him right now. It doesn't really matter. You need the defense to keep going. You fix the offense. And again, I mean, listen, it was 2 weeks ago we're talking about Rodgers is playing his best football since 2021, Jets to the Super Bowl, and then he has a couple bad games where we're just going to give up. Like, that's stupid too. But I don't know, whatever. Again, the whole premise of this is that everybody's stupid, and I think you're right. The entire team is stupid. The owner's stupid. They need to make changes. I don't think Rodgers is going to, because he's looking at it and saying, I know how to play. I know the right thing. And if everybody could just be on my page, we can make this work, right? I can read the defense. I can identify if you go here and I throw it to you there, like, you're going to be open, it's going to be fine. But nobody knows, because, again, it's kind of like what they say about dieting, which I never listen, where they talk about, like, don't consume too few calories. It's like, well, I want to, though. Like, I want fast results. I want big results. And so I'm going to do it. And they're like, well, the problem is you're going to relapse. Like, you're going to be starving, and that is the long-term results of it. It's like, no, it's not. I can freaking do it. It's fine. And you just keep doing that. Like, you drop 10 pounds, 15 pounds, whatever. Like, yeah, I'm feeling good. And then you're literally starving. And it's like, there's brain chemistry. There's chemicals that get released, that hunger chemicals that get released that make you a freaking savage beast. And it's not like, it doesn't matter if you're a fat man or a skinny man. You get that much, I forget what the thing is called, but you get that pumped into your brain, and it's like, bro, I need so many Twinkies right now. I don't even like Twinkies, but I'm going to eat all of them. So again, in theory, yeah, you want to lose weight, severely restrict your calories. Eat an apple and smoke cigarettes, and you're good to go. Like, just drop a bunch of weight. I'm not saying you should do that. It was an actor did that or whatever, dropped a bunch of weight. I don't know. I don't smoke, so I'm not doing that. Again, in practice, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. I wish it did. Rodgers wishes it did, and he knows that if you could just stick to the diet, it'll work. It's like, yeah, but they don't stick to the diet. It's like, but if they did, it would work. As like a personal trainer. Like, if they would just do it. Honestly, what was that show? Biggest Loser. That was a huge thing with that show. They severely restricted calories and put them on these ridiculous exercise regimens. And a lot of them, when they leave, they're not going to work that hard. And then trying to live in a world with those kind of restricted calories, nobody does. That's why almost all of them relapsed. Same thing. Rodgers wants to be the personal trainer that says just eat 700 calories every day, work out, and you're going to be fine. Like, you're not going to die. You'll live. You can do it. And you're going to lose a bunch of weight, and then we'll slowly add it back when you get there. But it doesn't work. People don't do it. They can't stick to it. Maybe once in a while you'll make it work, but proof is in the pudding, man. It just doesn't work anymore. If you want Rodgers to dedicate 5 years to getting Garrett Wilson on Devontae Adams' page and get him a bunch of young guys and get them trained up, because it's going to take years, yeah, maybe. But I don't know, man. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. If we had one more, I would do it. We got Craig coming up next. He's got a couple calls. We'll save that for tomorrow. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.